Yay, I am live. Super excited to be at home again this week, and it looks like my internet is working. So that's exciting. Thank you for being here. It is really kind of gloomy outside today, actually, but look at my cute little mug. Well, this isn't really a mug, is it? It's a cup, but um, I got this at a recent little fair thing that was going on in weed. It's definitely made by AI. It only has one eye, but I thought it was really pretty. Obviously, as a vegan, I am all about promoting veganism, and I absolutely love cows. I feel extremely connected to them, but I also feel extremely guilty for what I have done because I know that I abused cows the most in the past. I was heavily addicted to cheese. Like it's just ridiculous. My family in general is just so addicted to cheese, like grilled cheese parties where everyone brings a different type of cheese and that's like the thing. So it's yeah, I thought I could never go vegan because I could never give up cheese, and that's one reason for my why I like make all of these different cheeses. I'm pointing over here to my kitchen, but it's like on my full moon buffets, I have now 3 different types of cheeses. So yeah, and cheeseburgers were usually my favorite thing to eat as well. So I definitely want to make up for the cow abuse and others that I have done before, and I want to talk about the golden age in later on in the video. Hey Kyle, how's it going? Um, so yes, hopefully you will stay tuned. Let's actually get the chess news out of the way. I have quite a few things on my mind. I'm trying to think of how to just start checking off the task list here. Um, well, I'm actually really excited that I'm going to be posting tomorrow a game that I just won against a FIDE rated master, a correspondence game. I'm super excited about it. I posted one a while back, and this is a new game where I'm actually playing as Black. I am super excited to share that, so that'll be coming out tomorrow. And the other chess news that I have to announce is that the simul is potentially going to be pushed back even further than what I was planning. Unfortunately, because of the situation in Mount Shasta, which I'm going to be talking about in a minute. Um, Most of you know that I have been hosting full moon celebrations on Mount Shasta for the past like 5 years. And every year I tried to make it more like, the first year that I was up there, I was like having like a pan over the actual fire. Like I was very minimalist. And over time, it's like now I make my own. Oh, back then also it was all like store bought food. I wasn't when I first went vegan. I was not like into cooking at all. Um, and I mean, I was like I as a non vegan, it was very minimal. It was like I ate really crappy food, literally. So it's really nice over time, to actually be where I'm at and I make my own burgers now. I take, potatoes and carrots and onions and leek and garlic, and I actually hand form the patties and make them. So I know all of the ingredients that are going into my food and all of this stuff. So that's really cool. But yeah, over time, it has become something way more extravagant to where I have 4 or 5 tables set out. Now I actually have these poles on the end of each table, and I drape lights, string of lights all the way through the whole thing. Like I got tablecloths and catering equipment and all this stuff. So these events are very important. I've said before that they're a demonstration of the golden age. So there's something that I have to prioritize, and there is an underlying kind of ongoing battle for control over Mount Shasta, and that's ultimately the reason why I came here. I have been very, very forthcoming with telling you that I am looking for power because once I have the power, then I can use it to change the world. The resources right now are controlled by psychopaths that are anti human. I'm like, if we change who is in charge of these things, we can make sure that people have what they need. Like this world is able to provide everything for everyone on it. And the people that are in charge right now don't want that. They want this system where we're constantly struggling to make ends meet. We're on a human farm. And, ultimately, we manifest this reality. We determine what the state of this human farm is. And it's clearly become an absolute hell. But that being said, it can be much, much worse. And that is the default path that we're headed down. And this is kind of leading into the golden age talk already. Um, we actually have to change our actions to get a different future because we've been manifesting this hell on earth. And if we don't change, we're just going to continue down that path. So, anyways, back to Mount Shasta. Um, there, until I came, there were people have always had these full moon celebrations on Mount Shasta. But before it was kind of like the community, and there wasn't really, I mean, there's kind of elders in the community, but there's not really anyone that's in charge per se. Um, we'll get into that in a little bit more, but so yeah, I came in and basically took over the situation, and every year I have to go and I have to get up there and set up my stuff before everyone else and take over the space. So it's a constant struggle, and in previous times, all I ask is that the circle remains vegan and that you allow me to say a prayer at midnight. I don't believe that that is, you know, too much to ask for, especially because I bring up a huge buffet of homemade vegan food. So it's like there's no reason that you need to even try to bring that cheeseburger in my circle. But if you do try to bring that cheeseburger in my circle, at the very least, we're going to exchange words. And at the most extreme, someone might go meet the creator. Like that's there's a pretty wide range of what could happen if there were someone to come and cause issues. Thankfully, the only people that I've really had provoke me were the people that were these drunk Indians that came in and were trying to like pass around mac and cheese, and I personally pushed them out of the circle, and then they started like throwing food and ended up like being children. So it didn't escalate, but it definitely could have. So anyways, hi everybody in the live chat, David D, and Actors here. How's it going? Um, so anyways, this underlying battle is going on. And there are some, well, I guess there's some background information that you should also know if you aren't aware. We're living in a completely controlled reality on this human farm. And most of you already know they've given us this, all of these different societies, this history, this fake history, fake science, the illusion of choice. You get to choose what puppet is ruling over you. Like there's a whole false matrix set up to keep us asleep, to keep us unaware of the fact that we're even on a human farm. And believing that you are evolved scum on a giant spinning ball and that life is meaningless is all part of that. So we'll get into that in just a minute as well. But the powers that be have been controlling this mountain, and specifically using inverts and assets to control the community. In the past few years, there was one particular leader, I would say, a young person that has stepped up and was actually hosting their own full moon celebrations with vegan potlucks. So basically, everyone can bring whatever they want. I don't do that because I don't trust people. Unfortunately, there are souls that will come and they will bring things that are non-vegan just to see if they can sneak it on the buffet, to see if they can get away with it, essentially. So I don't do potlucks. But anyways, they were doing this. So they're setting up this whole controlled resistance, right? And in this community, it's all about love and light. They don't focus on any truth or topics, right? everyone's welcome. There's no comments on anti-sexuality, sexual degeneracy. There's no required veganism. There's no anything controversial, right? So over here we have this love and light community with a huge crowd, right? And they also have all of these drugs. They're passing out acid. It's basically a cult that's controlled by acid, and it's really good acid. I mean, I haven't had it, but the person that told me about this said it's the best acid that they had ever had, and that they were given this treat by one of the leaders, and they were tripping really hard, and so they like were just kind of mellowed out and staring at the fire, and the leader actually yelled at them and said, if you're standing around the fire you have to dance or you need to leave, and forced them to leave the party tripping. And it's just so dangerous and it really irritates me, but this is the kind of stuff that they do. And they also have, the people that are handing out the acid are these CIA assets, right? They're the ones that are in charge. They're controlled by the government and they're put there for this purpose. They're probably these military guys that have dreadlocks. So their whole look doesn't even look right. There's a new one in town that looks just like this, and they're trying to promote a separate controlled opposition to this other one. Anyways, we'll get into this a little bit confusing situation in a second, but you have to be aware that these inverts and government people aren't just far away in Hollywood. They're not just far away in Washington, D.C. or politics. It's like they are in every town. They're all around us all the time. Humans are surrounded by these clowns trying to keep us in order, trying to essentially keep the matrix, their false matrix, in order. So, yeah. Anyways, these CIA assets who are passing out the drugs, they also have girls that'll be, sleep around. And it's just, if you've been in these hippie cultures, you will know what kind of girls I'm talking about. The government controls these types as well. So they'll send them in so that they dose you guys up, and then they'll lead you into corruption. And all of a sudden, instead of your soul coming to Mount Shasta and actually being changed by someone that you met on the mountain that was promoting veganism in a golden age, now you have ended up in this hippie cult getting drugged and seduced by a hooker. So that's one of the reasons that they are doing this, to try to keep control. And it's kind of like a long story that I'm trying to say is that there's a full moon coming up. So I am going to need to focus my energy into that. I was actually planning on doing a private ceremony for this full moon, but because of recent new developments in this situation, I need to go up there and make sure that I keep control of Mount Shasta. The new situation that has happened is this new element leader who is rivaling the first one, right? I told you there's this one person over here, essentially, that came onto the scene, that was passing out the best acid, that was hosting all of these vegan celebrations. And now there's a new guy in town who is going against this person, calling them a tyrant, and causing all sorts of drama with them online. And I got myself into some drama with this person because this person is promoting nonviolence and peacefulness. I'm like, first of all, before you even start talking about nonviolence and peace, what are you eating? Because if you eat animals, shut up. Like, you have no room to talk about nonviolence and peace. Personally, I'm not against violence, but I am against violence towards innocents. You see, if there is an innocent, no, we don't use violence. But if there is a predator or someone that is doing evil, I'm not against violence towards them. So there's a lot of people that disagree with that, obviously, because they are judging from a human-based perspective and not from the animals. I don't know, if you see someone that's hurting a dog, are you just going to sit by and stop, or are you going to interject and try to stop them? Maybe even get physical with them, put yourself between them and the animal that they're hurting to stop them. Because that's the kind of person that I am. I'm going to get up there and do something. I'm not just going to sit back and say, hey, bro, what's up? And they're like, you probably shouldn't cut that dog's throat and eat it, But if you want to, I'm not judging. Yeah, it's like, I don't understand how people can be like that. If you are tolerant in the face of evil, then you are participating in that evil yourself. You're allowing it to happen, and that's wrong. So, anyways, after a confrontation with this non-violent, peaceful person who there's allegations that they are a predator towards women and all of these other things as well, which is not surprising because when the CIA, the government has these assets, it's usually because they've done something to get in trouble. And then the government comes and says, "Oh, I saw you did something wrong," probably because we sold you the drugs and then we were the ones that came in and busted you. But hey, let's not talk about that part. Let's focus on the fact that you did something wrong. Now, to get out of trouble, you can either go and sit in prison or you could grow your hair out and get dreadlocks and go pass around acid to a bunch of hippies. Which one would you rather do? So that's how a lot of these assets even get into the places that they are, is because they've gotten into trouble and the government offers them a way out for working for them. So, yeah. Anyways, that was, I think I kind of covered covered the situation in Shasta here. I have said multiple times that the golden age is kind of, it starts in one spot and spreads. So we are going to be forcing Mount Shasta vegan. I am, working on spreading the word here. There's a few ideas that I have for vegan activism that I'm going to be starting soon around here. So I'm pretty excited about that. But the meeting place of heaven and earth should be vegan, right? Otherwise, it's the meeting place of heaven and hell, really. Okay, so I'm going to check out the live chat and then I'll start ranting again after a minute after I see what's going on here. Hey, Abdullah, how's it going? David says, yes, we have been tricked into making this world a hell by demons that really hate humanity and say humans are getting what they deserve. Well, a lot of people, like I was saying, judge things based on this human perspective. But I mean, if you were the animal that was being enslaved, all you ever knew was these four walls and this perverted farmer who comes and, puts his hand up your bum and rapes you pregnant and then separates you from your child and then steals milk from you. How do you think that you would feel towards the farmers, towards the people that are doing this for you or to you? I mean, for them to have your tit secretions. Like, do you think that those cows are sending blessings? That milk that you're consuming, that cheese, that's cursed. And it's rightly so. I mean, you should not be able, like, if that was you, if that was me, I would be cursing whoever was doing that to me as well. Yes, I would. Especially if they were raping me and stealing my child from me. Like, these entities are sentient beings. They have feelings. They have a soul inside. Anything with a pineal gland has a soul. It has feelings and thoughts and emotions. It wants to live just like you. So, put yourself in their shoes and hopefully that'll help you to go vegan. For me, going vegan was like extremely easy because it's a moral thing. My struggle personally is going fruitarian. So, yeah. Hopefully, I'm actually planning on going to a farmer's market on Wednesday, the local farmer's market. So I'm hoping that I can go and find like a bunch of fruit that's not grown in manure. And basically just live off of that because I don't want to eat clown food. I don't know about you. I don't want to be a clown in any way. I am like, if you imagine this earth as a stage, there are entities watching us, and we can either be like something that's respectable or we can be something that they laugh at. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be laughed at. I want to be something that they look and say, wow, that is impressive, especially in this world where nothing really is impressive. Humans in general, not impressive. They want us to think that humans are so great. Humans invented all of this technology. Humans went to space. We went to the moon. Okay, everyone knows that we didn't do that. But we also didn't invent the technology. All of these inventions, I'm pointing at a different computer that I have sitting here. All of these technological inventions, all of these big progressive steps we've made in our history have all it's all been a lie. The the powers that be already have the most advanced technology, and they periodically release us, you know, here you go, here's, Windows 98 when they're already on Windows. I was just going to say some really crazy number, like 10 million or something. It's like a hyperbole, but the point is, they already have it, and they give us just like throwing out little pebbles and like, here you go. Here is almost when I'm thinking about it, I can feel like the hatred that they have towards humanity. They're just like, here you go. And then humans are like, oh my gosh, it's an iPhone 5. And like so impressed by this great technology. And they're just mocking us because what they're giving us is pathetic. And then it doesn't even last. It's like, how long, if you don't have a screen protector, a protective case on your phone, a lot of people, especially, are going to destroy that phone relatively quickly. It's like these things are not made to last. They're made to get there. All sorts of viruses that they put out. Every update basically makes it worse so that it will just get destroyed faster and faster. And then you have to buy something new. So, yes. Hey, Faith, how's it going? Faith says, hey, Queen, I hope you are good. I am doing great. Thank you. Abdullah A is asking about assets. I think I answered that. There are people that, as far as assets go, there's people that are actually like part of the CIA. Like that's like they went into that profession, that job. Most are, sodomite clowns. And then inverts on top of that. So it's like there's a pyramid scheme in all of these, a hierarchy of power, which I'm actually not against. But when that hierarchy of power is full of sodomites and inverts and child molesters and other corrupt souls, then there's a problem. So, anyways, there's like actual members of the CIA, and then there's these assets who are, like I was saying, an average human who got in trouble for drugs or any type of thing that they shoplifting, any of these things, and then they're basically not forced, but it's like the likely situation is like an extreme punishment, or we'll just give you a slap on the wrist and you do our bidding. So yeah. David D says Queen pushed them out of the circle for trying to defile it with their mac and cheese. Yes, there's actually audio of that interaction as well. Personally, I actually hate when people are saying, we're natives and we eat animals. It's like, I don't care what race you are, what culture you are from. Like, that doesn't matter to me. The culture that I'm from abuses animals as well. I don't use it as justification to continue. For me, new traditions start with me. My child is going to be completely different. A lot of people would say, I'm the black sheep of my family. And I used to say that, but now I'm kind of like, I'm the white sheep and everyone else is the black sheep, because I'm the one that's focused on purification and becoming white as snow and changing. So maybe you might want to think about that a little bit differently as well. But yeah, new family traditions are going to start with me. My child is not going to be born in a hospital. They're going to be extended breastfed, and then they're going to be raw vegan. They're not going to be vaccinated or circumcised or any of these things. They're not going to go to school. They're not participating in this reality as far as the parts that I don't agree with. And, everyone should be like that. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter your culture. You can still bring elements of your culture in so that, I'm not against having pride in where your people come from, but all of our ancestors have been participating in evil. So that part of these cultures needs to be eradicated. Keep your colors and your other traditions that are culture specific. That's awesome. Just make it vegan. That's how the golden age is going to be. It's not a golden age unless everyone is vegan. You can't have animals being abused and say that that's a golden age, because it might be a golden age for you, but animals are still being abused. So how is that even different than what we have now? Because right now you can go out and rape and pillage all that you want, these animals. So, yeah. Abdul A says, so you're against the oldest profession. I am against sexual degeneracy and abusing sexual um sex is sacred and um it should be treated that way. It's a bond between not just physical, but it's a bond between your souls. It's an emotional, it's a mental, it's a soul connection. And that shouldn't be just willy-nilly done with anyone. That's just wrong. And definitely during the golden age, I want to really stress the complete opposite of what we have now, which is over sexualized culture. Like, how many children, how many little boys are like pornography is exposed to them at these early ages, and they start to waste away their life force energy. They start to corrupt their minds. They start to bind themselves to demons. When you are sitting there and you are lusting and masturbating over someone, even though you're not actually having sex with them, you are binding your soul to them. You are having this interaction with them that connects you to them. And when that person is a literal sodomite male demon, a boy who has fake breasts and long hair and has chopped his bottom bits up? You don't think that that's a clown behavior? Like, so yeah, anyways, if you haven't seen my Transvestigation 101 Porn Stars Are Male video, I definitely would suggest that you do that so that you can stop, you know, looking and lusting after dudes in drag. It's just, I did that because I'm like, I don't know if I'm even allowed to say that without getting banned. Are you allowed to say? I know you're not allowed to say the T word, but are you allowed to say dudes in drag? I don't know. Hey, Mr. Moves 97, how's it going? Faye says, have you ever watched the movie called They Cloned Tyrone? No, I have not. They Cloned Tyrone. Okay, interesting. An eerie series of events leads to an unlikely trio down a rabbit hole into a sinister neighborhood conspiracy. Ooh, that sounds like an interesting thing to watch. I will definitely leave this tab up and maybe even check it out later today. Mr. Move says, I hope everyone is having a good day. I hope you are as well. Thanks. Abdullah A says, cat people won't. I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Axar says the oldest profession is a magic. Mr. Move says, have you heard about what's going on with Logan Paul? I do not know. I really don't listen to the news, and this person is a really weird looking girl. Someone saved this person from getting murdered. I don't know. Obviously, I haven't heard anything about what's going on here. I don't even know who these clowns are. I don't believe any mainstream news stories. I think they're all just control and programming their stories. Sometimes these stories have real human stories behind them, and other times they're just complete fabrications. Complete Hollywood productions, as most people know, like with, I mean, even 9/11. Oh, can I even say these things without getting banned? 9/11, Inside Job, Controlled Demolition, all Hollywood fakery, yet passed off as something completely different, right? Okay, hopefully I don't get banned for that. It really sucks that they are so touchy about everything, but it ultimately is their platform, and okay. Mr. Moose says, oh wait, here I already read that part. With Logan Paul, Abdul A says, are animals inherently innocent? I think that the animal kingdom is a reflection of us, and the reason that lions are no longer peaceful is because we have set them in this manner, and even the Essene texts talk about this. I posted about, let me just look really quick. The Christ, there's a story about the Christ who was passing by a mountainside nigh into the desert, and he met There met him a lion, and many men were pursuing him with stones and javelins to slay him. But Christ rebuked them, saying, Why hunt ye these creatures of God, which are more noble than you? By the cruelties of many generations, they were made the enemies of man, who should have been his friends. So these animals, I mean, if you think about the Garden of Eden, this whole idea that God made this perfect paradise for his creation to start off with, that, in my opinion, is solid evidence that God's intent is good. That's what he intended for us. That's what he wanted for us, where no blood was even being shed in this Garden of Eden. There weren't any animals being killed. And obviously, these behaviors started afterwards. So it's like at one point, animals were living in perfect harmony with humans. And then we started going after them and set their whole world into chaos as well. We are the ones who are manifesting this. Humans are the main characters on the stage. I don't know. I don't want to use, sometimes people are like, oh, actors and stuff. Like, we are the focus. We are the most recent creation, and we are the ones that determine what the state is. So the state of our world is. So yeah, we have done this to them, and once we stop chasing after them with forks and knives, then we can have a golden age. Hey, Mike the mechanic, how's it going? Hopefully you are doing well. I believe the American Indians that we know of have their own rabbit hole. That we're told about them isn't the truth. I completely agree with that. For one, their DNA traces back to Siberia. They migrated over the Bering Strait, and there were giants here in America before they came, before they migrated over. And those that migrated helped to kill the giants that were here before. So there has been, well, first of all, before humans were even created, other species, this land was theirs. Then humans came and took it from those other species. So any human really making claims to any land is just kind of laughable, because like, all the land has been stolen from other people continuously. Ultimately, in this world, the only thing that's yours, that you own, is what you're willing to fight, kill, and die over. So no one owns any land. No one, like, I mean, no one owns any land anyways, because they have to pay taxes. So that alone tells you that you don't own what you have if you have to pay taxes on it. So Extra says smartphones have a life of their own. TT proper AI. TT, I don't know what TT means. Or can you clarify what you mean there? Abdul A says, what about the Scotland Yard? I have no idea what that is. I read that already. David says, haha, yeah, I burn through phones. Yeah, that's funny. Thankfully, I'm actually pretty good with my phones, but I also, like, I mean, I don't have like an active job, and I'm very protective over this because I have my social media, I have all of my business contacts and everything. Like, I need to have this right now. Unfortunately, well, part of me says unfortunately, but the other part, I'm addicted to my phone. So yeah. Yeah, I'm not really sure what you mean about the Scotland Yard. I don't know anything about the Scotland Yard, to be honest. So I'll have to look into that. Abdullah A says, hate it and hate to say it, but isn't prostitution a necessary evil? Why would prostitution ever be necessary? No. There's never a necessary time to go and violate yourself or others by participating in this behavior. Mike says, it took me a while, but zero pornography or masturbation since March. Woohoo! My health has further improved. It really feels good to be vegan and keeping my soul clean. That is really, really awesome. For all the guys out there, I definitely would encourage you to look into semen retention, because there's a lot of information about it, and your life force energy is very important, and you should protect it. Abdullah A says Logan Paul the scammer. Yes. Mike says TikTok didn't like my 9/11 videos either. Okay, I'm actually not on TikTok, but yeah, I know there's a lot of censorship on all of their platforms. So, hey Joe, how's it going? Mr. Move says, did you see the UFC fight last night between Sean O'Malley? Like, I don't watch UFC. I think they're all FTMs, female to males. I don't see like why are if you're gonna fight someone, fight them for something. Just I don't know. I just don't. I don't agree with that whole thing. Uh, I just think that you should fight for something that's worthwhile and not for money. And with anything famous, I would rather watch paint dry than watch famous sports because they're all jokes. So rigged, rigged females. I remember when I first woke up, my boyfriend at the time was like super into sports, like watching the Sports Center in the morning and these talk shows about sports and then sports. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then you say the same person, hey, let's talk about the shape of the earth. And they say, why does the shape of the earth matter? It's like, you think that sports statistics matter more than the actual shape of the earth. And that's why I'm not in that relationship anymore. Well, one of the many reasons. But anyways, yeah, no professional sports for me. Mike says you can find videos on YouTube of cows playing with soccer. Oh my gosh, I've seen those. They're so cute. Cows are intelligent, sentient beings like big dogs. Yes, they are. I don't know if you were here at the beginning, Mike, but if you see my cute new mug or cup here, I'm really happy about it. Even though it only has one eye. Joe says the law of mirrors. Yes. As above, so below, as within, so without. As the universe, so the soul. Abdul A says, but don't some Christians eat the body and blood of Christ in church? The Christian religion has been infiltrated and corrupted for a very long time, not only after Christ, but before Christ. Christ came to show us the true path, and he did what he could. Unfortunately, Paul was introduced right after that and came in to get control and help to establish what is currently known as, mainstream Christianity. I personally call it Pollyanity. But I actually kind of wanted to talk about this today because I have like all of these books that if I had to choose one for a Bible, I would probably only choose the Gospel of the Holy 12 because this is what actually changed my life. But the Essene texts and these other books, I would definitely recommend, at least for the vegan scriptures in them. It's really awesome. These two books in particular, the Clementine Recognitions and the Clementine Homilies, both have verses about, you can see how things are marked, about veganism and about how demons interact with humans and how they can integrate themselves into our system and basically live vicariously through them. So these bloodlust demons, the bacon demon, the one that possesses people to go on to posts and just say bacon, they're possessed by a demon. They're not doing that on their own accord. There is a demon that is possessing them to do that. Bacon is the closest thing that you can eat to eating human flesh, and the bacon demon is the strongest in his arena. That's like, how many people do you know that are not addicted to bacon? Anyways, these are all available online. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about this. The gospel, I just realized recently that I have two Essene Gospels of Peace, but this one also has the Essene Humane Gospel of Christ, which kind of goes right along with the Gospel of the Holy 12. So I highly recommend these books, which are all available online. But the Essenes especially talk about how Christianity has been infiltrated and corrupted and turned into this bloodshed blood cult when the whole concept of being covered in innocent blood. I don't know about you, but when I think about someone being covered in blood, I'm picturing Scary Carrie, that scene where they dump blood on her and she's just standing there just dripping in blood. It's not a pretty sight. That's creepy. It's disgusting. It's dirty. It's unholy. It's the opposite of being white as snow and sinless. So you can kind of see all of their religions have been corrupted and, infiltrated by Satanists ultimately. Abdullah says, "Did you, everyone? Did you watch the Barbie movie?" I actually did see the Barbie movie. A friend invited and paid for me to go, and it was very off from the beginning. Obviously, there's even a scene where it's just so there were children in the theater, and these two supposed men are going after each other, saying that they're going to beach, but they're saying, "I will beat you off." Like, and they're going back and saying this. I'm just like, how are you sitting there with your children, having them corrupted with this stuff? It's horrible. And that's just kind of like the tip of the iceberg as far as all of the other programming and the agendas, the underlying agendas, ultimately trying to promote the division between male and female and demonize each of the other sides. I don't really want to get into all of the details of this movie, but yeah, those are ultimately none of these things that they put out are for our entertainment. They're always to program us. That's one of the reasons why, humans will go and watch this movie that they spent like so much money creating. And it's like, wow, that was like the worst thing that I've ever seen. Like the entertainment was horrible. Like they just get bad reviews, and it's like that's because it's not actually made to entertain you. It's made to program you from the minute that you go in there to the end for whatever agendas that they want. So yes. Kyle says I jumped down to the bottom. Kyle says Isaiah 11:6 and Isaiah 65:25. Yes. Let me look up the Isaiah 65:25 because I know about the lion laying with the lamb. What is happening? Well, they talk about the Mandela effect with this lion laying with the lamb type thing, or wolf laying with the lamb. I think that, I mean, as far as I remember from the earliest times, it was always lion laying with the lamb. So I'm not, I think that there's been deliberate confusion on these matters. But also, the Mandela effect, I do believe is real. I think that it is a black magic. What the heck is happening? A black magic spell that is cast on humans. Oh, okay. I got a message back from Shayna. Okay. A black magic spell that they can cast essentially on Sophia. All physical matter is Sophia. She is everything. So in order to change something like, all of the books to go from Berenstein to Berenstain or whatever, there has to be something done to her. And, she obviously has allowed it to happen. So yeah, I remember the Berenstein Bears. And actually, I have some pretty good early memories of, unfortunately, drinking strawberry milk with my cousins and like being at my aunt's house, being watched by my great grandma, like, and watching the show. So I've seen it a lot of times. So yeah. Isaiah 65:25. This, unfortunately, the NIV came up first, but it says, "The wolf and the lamb will feed together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox, and dust will be dust will be the serpent's food. They will neither harm nor destroy on all my holy mountain." I think Mount Shasta is that holy mountain personally. And that's where we're going to start the golden age. So thank you for posting that verse, Kyle. I knew about the 11:6 one, but I didn't remember the other one. So I have to write that down to remember it later. Joe says mobile phones were predicted 100 years ago. Re the electronic doppelganger. That's not surprising, but I also think that they did have these advanced technologies back then. I have read about essentially 5G type technology being used during the Spanish flu to also create this environment that, they're blasting us with these harmful frequencies to essentially lower our immune system to help their diseases spread easier. I know for sure that viruses are real. I have spoken to people that have literally studied them extensively and learned how they go through the process of making them, and understanding myself that they cannot exist in real life. Like, someone has to put these ingredients together. Like, a cake doesn't just appear. Nature doesn't just make cakes out of thin air. You have to go and you have to get the ingredients, put them together, stir them up, go through all the baking process and all the stuff, and then you have a cake, right? The same thing with the virus. The genetic engineer has to go and pick out different proteins, different bits and pieces that will combine together to create a specific virus. And you can use the same general process, just like with making a cake. You can bake cakes of all different flavors by doing the same process with different ingredients, right? The same thing as a virus. You can make viruses of all different types by using the same basic instructions of this piece, this piece, this piece. You just pick out different ingredients and put them together. So yeah, the powers that be have been promoting this idea that viruses aren't real, or that they are part of your body's immune system. They're blaming you. They're getting you to blame yourself for something that is only made in a lab. Do you not see how funny that is for them? You're blaming yourself for something that they did, that you can't even do. Anyways, both germ and terrain are both partially true. If your terrain is clean, your immune system is going to be working at full potential. In any types of viruses, diseases, cancers, your immune system will fight them off. But if your immune system is weakened by your diet, by your environment, by even our mental and emotional state, can either improve or weaken our physical state. What was I saying? If you have a weakened terrain, then all of these other diseases are going to have breeding grounds inside of you to thrive. So both are true. And just because viruses are real does not mean that I'm promoting to get jabbed or anything of the medical industry. I've been accused of being part of their nonsense because I state that viruses are real. It's like, me supporting the medical industry, the person who says avoid doctors like the plague? Really? Well, that's a funny accusation. And it has no base at all. It's like, for me, like I've said, I don't see doctors, and when I get pregnant and stuff, nowhere near my children are they coming, because they don't know what end is up. So, yes, if you want to, clean your terrain, you don't go get jabbed because that's actually hurting you more. Go outside and ground, purify your diet, do natural things to improve rather than their suggestions. Okay. Faye says a lot of humans have cognitive dissonance. The world is under a deep spell. I definitely agree with that. Extra says TT is a crying emoji. Okay. I guess I see it. Yeah. Interesting. I haven't come across that before, obviously. Hi, Jim. How's it going? Jim says the earth is flat. Go vegan. Do not eat cheese. Eat nutritional yeast. Cheese is cow abuse, and the Bible is full of BS. Yes. Your mom died from not going vegan. I'm sorry that she did not listen to you. That is really sad, especially when we have the truth and we're trying to desperately tell our family members and they ignore us. They go get jabbed. They go get, radiation. They go get all of these unnatural treatments for their issues, and it ends up, biting them in the bum, so to speak. Abdullah A says the law of mirrors seems satanic. I think that Satanists pervert it in their inversion agendas. I don't think that mirrors in general is satanic, but when they try to basically mirror the same entity in a male when they're a female, or vice versa, that type of inversion is obviously what is satanic. But it's kind of making an interesting interesting connection in my mind that I'm gonna have to think about a little bit later. Faith says, my father just passed on due to his lifestyle choices. I told him to go vegan and he knew it would help him. But I guess he didn't value his life that much. I wonder where his soul is right now. I'm really sorry to hear that, Faith. I thankfully don't, thankfully have both of my parents still, but I don't have a very good relationship with them at this point. I mean, it's not like a bad relationship, but it's definitely strained because of my other beliefs and stuff. But I can't imagine, losing them, I guess, and all of that. So I'm really sorry that you're going through that. My thoughts and prayers for sure coming out to you. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't value their lives. And I mean, when you're working a 9 to 5 slave job and trying to make ends meet and the world is really dark, there's not really much hope. I definitely can see why people don't choose to stay around longer. It can be very easy to be depressed, especially as a truther. It's like, if you're a non-truther, you're probably depressed because you're not happy in life. You're working a 9 to 5. You're not doing what your soul came here to do and all of that. But then you start waking up to the truth of our reality and you realize that it's run by pedophiles and all of these other things. It's like the depression can definitely go a lot deeper. But when we have hope for a future, when we have the understanding that we can manifest a better world and change it, I think that definitely helps to keep the light on, I guess. So yeah, I definitely would encourage you to not allow the depression to take control. Yeah, as easy as it can be. These demons, especially all around us, want to manipulate us and feed off of our energies, especially the negative ones. I think they call it loosh. And I've said before, there's demons that are all around us constantly, whispering into our ear, trying to manipulate our emotions, trying to cause issues between us and other people, trying to just do anything that they can because, well, one, they're bored. This physical reality is like outside of this is the cosmic ocean. And if you're, this soul that, I don't want to say eternal because I don't believe anything is actually eternal, but if you're a soul that is really old, and you've been around for a long time, outside of this world can get extremely boring. And I mean, inside can be too. But anyways, all of the main focus is on this world, the Truman Show, and multiple factors go in: boredom, jealousy of humans, hatred of humans for us replacing them, to go into this, all of these anti-human agendas that we see around us. They're constantly messing with us. And, there's a reason for it. So multiple reasons, really. Mike says, oh, and Anna, someone mentioned cheese, but it made me think of vegan butter made by the company Mayoko's, which I just want to recommend it because it's just awesome. I actually really like their cream cheese myself. David says that Jesus sacrificed themselves to save a lamb, a single animal, a single soul. I love that. They have made Jesus into a clown, the direct opposite, making his miracles, making massive amounts, feeding thousands with innocent flesh. One of the things, my book is not there anymore. Yeah, one of the things about the Gospel of the Holy 12 and these other texts, they do have the same story about the Christ feeding thousands, but he feeds them once with grapes and bread, and the other time he feeds them with melon. So that was really, really awesome to find those texts, especially because I never liked fish. So I would have been really unsatisfied with that fishy meal. But yeah, in this, the Essene New Testament, the Passover time came, and Passover was something that was forced on the people. If you didn't participate in it, you you get in trouble. Look at what happened to Christ. He refused to participate in the sacrifice of the lamb, and that's why they legally got him in trouble. Like, they were looking for a reason to legally catch him get him on the hook, essentially. But he was causing all sorts of trouble before this even happened. He was going into the temple at a very young age and correcting the priest. He was going around contradicting all of the blood, the blood cult that was around him, and saying God did not want us to consume animals. He's calling these high up priests and these supposed respected people in the community vipers and serpents and children of Satan, essentially, and calling them out. He's going into the temple right before sacrifice day and flipping tables and setting animals free and causing a huge commotion. It's like, that is the guy that I'm following all around this earth. Let's go, because that is awesome. I'm getting all fired up, but yeah, compared to like now, my viewpoint is so different. If you say the biblical Christ or the Essene Christ, I'm like, I would not follow that guy to the end of the street, because he is not even doing what God's will is. He's not vegan. If you're not vegan, then you're not doing God's will. That's pretty much like the first. If you're a pastor or you want to preach to me about anything, it's like, first of all, are you even vegan? Because you can save it for the animals. Go preach to the animals in your freezer and tell me how that goes, because you don't know. Anyways, Jim thinks that the Mandela effect is not real. I agree with David. Physical reality herself can be manipulated through will. Yes. Mandela effect is a result of magic. Yes. My chat is jumping through here. Okay. I'm not really sure what Jim is talking about there. The medicine also kills, but AIDS is not something that, like, AIDS is real. Thankfully, no one actually believes these claims enough to actually go test them out. Because if you actually believed that AIDS wasn't real and that you couldn't catch it, then do you have a problem with sleeping with someone with it? Thankfully, you don't believe it that much to actually go do it. So, Joe says Bell Champ versus Pasteur, or whatever the heck these names are. But yes, it's another one of these things where it's like right versus left. Pick one side or the other, and they're both partially true and partially wrong. David says they feed on fear. It keeps them going. Torturing humans gives them reason to continue existing. Their only goal is no more humans. Yes, well, if God stops making humans, then maybe their species will have center stage again, right? Because these other species had their time on this earth as the focus, and over time, it's like how many thousands of years of one creation until you're like, maybe I could create another creation and see what happens with that. So it's kind of like, if you were the creator, you can put yourself into his shoes, if he even wears shoes. I don't know. Just kidding. But creating new creation and having a progression is definitely something that I see him doing, although I'm not 100% sure where he would go after humans. It's interesting to theorize. I mean, he's had Jinn, like these beings of smokeless fire, snakes, Nakash, reptilians like dragons, all of these other creation, cows, chicken, pig, whatever. And then humans is like, there's been an order, and what's next? I don't know. But can they trump the cuteness of a human baby? I don't know. Abdul A says Jesus flipped the table when they did business in the Lord's house. Yes, but it was more than just that, because they were getting ready to sell. They were getting ready for the Passover sacrifice. So there were all of these animals that were in the temple as well. I'm not even sure where, if it's in the more towards the beginning, or it must be towards the end, because cleansing of the temple. And the Jews' Passover was at hand, and Jesus went up again from Bethany into Jerusalem, and he found in the temple those that sold oxen and sheep and doves, and the changers of money sitting. And when he had made a scourge of 7 cords, he drove them all out of the temple, and loosed the sheep and the oxen and the doves, and poured out the changers' money, and overthrew the tables. And he said unto them, Take these things hence, make not my father's house an house of merchandise. Is it not written, My house is a house of prayer for all nations? But ye have made it a den of thieves, and filled it with all manner of abominations. And he would not suffer that any man should carry any vessel of blood through the temple, or that any animals should be slain. I love this. Like, he just goes in there and basically takes charge as a vegan. And yeah, I can picture myself seeing these people with like bowls of blood or something, just go whack them out of their hand. It's like we're going full force on these people, and we're setting animals free, just sheep and cows and doves flying, like all these animals just running for freedom. Like, I'm getting super stoked thinking about this. It's unfortunate, like you can't go to, if I was to go over here to my neighbor's house, obviously I'd get in trouble for, cutting their fence and setting their animals free, which that's not the problem. The real problem is that the animals are completely broken. Where would they even go? Like, there's nowhere for them to run to unless they're going to run onto my property, which I'm fine with. I love cows, but, there's not going to be any actual solution to the issue. And that's kind of with all of the modern animal liberation type things. It's like, if you were to go in nowadays, if you were to go into a public place that was having all of these things and set all these animals free, what's going to happen besides for like, the pest control coming in and like killing and hurting the animals, slamming them back into the cages? Like, what is the actual logical like end of what you're doing? What we need to really do is, buy out the farms, buy out the slaughterhouse, like shut them down at a fundamental level, rather than going and expecting, like, where are the cows going to go? They won't do anything. They're just going to stand there because they're broken. They don't have anywhere to go. So, okay. David D says, many of them say they are not inherently evil, but humans make them upset. I definitely can understand that, not just understanding the whole concept of, being a species that was put on the shelf. You're not God's focus anymore. So there's like an inherent jealousy that comes from that. And even further, when the species that's replacing you is inferior in your mind. But yeah, and then humans, especially once you go vegan, you look out and you're like, wow. We as truthers, we want to point to these like Satanists in charge and what they do to humans, human children, and like we're all pointing at all of the things that they do that's evil. It's like, wait a second, let's look at what humanity does that's evil. Our own species, like, how can we even judge another species righteously if our own species is not like, we have to take the plank out of our eye before we can judge the speck in someone else's eye. Like, so look at what humans do, and we enslave the babies of like every species. So isn't it right that the human species should be enslaved? For me, it's a no-brainer. It's like, if you enslave, you deserve to be enslaved. It really sucks that there are children being enslaved, but that's what human adults are choosing to do. Human adults are enslaving the children of other species, and then their children are enslaved in return. I'm not a mom yet, but I understand karma, and I'm not going to do anything that could justify my child being taken from me. And if I do that to the mothers of other species, there's a cow farm over there. That's why I keep pointing over there. If I do that to the mothers of other species, then I deserve it happening to me. So that's why I'm vegan. Well, one reason. Mike the Mechanic says, when people question my veganism, I ask them, how much death does it take to create life? I usually stump them with that. That's an interesting take on it, especially, I mean, the animal starts to like decompose, their flesh starts to decompose as soon as it's killed. Like, you're eating rotting flesh. They use chemicals and other like preservative measures to preserve that, to make the flesh in your supermarket that red color. There's all sorts of black magic to keep that rotting flesh looking like how you'll eat it. So you'll eat it. It's just so disgusting. When you go vegan, it's like a switch flips in your mind. It's like, what in the world was I just eating? I was eating, I mean, I never really ate eggs, but it's like you're eating bird droppings. You're eating cow's tit secretions that has pus and blood and feces and nasty things. It's like, why wouldn't you choose a cheese made out of cashews over something that has pus and blood and feces and stuff in it? Like, and then humans are like, oh, never, vegan cheese isn't good enough. It's like, gotta have that nasty stuff, don't you? Anyways, David says others of them wish to continue humanity as it is a source of food. Yeah, there are different groups of souls. Obviously, we can't even judge one species. You can't use a universal statement for a species in general, like saying, all of these species hate humans. I mean, they generally probably do, but the ones that are torturing humanity, we can say they're torturing humanity. But there are other, there are jinn out there, for instance, that are going along with Satan's plan because he's the one in charge, and he uses threats and, fear essentially to keep them in line. And they're waiting for the power to shift so that they don't have to do this. But yeah, so there's just different groups of species that we should judge, righteously. Kyle says, are you resisting the temptation to open that delivery? It's actually right here. Kyle sent me a birthday gift, and I am resisting the temptation. Should I open it? Uh-oh, Teresa's here saying that I'm a witch. Oh, hello, Teresa. Thanks for joining. Guess what? You're a witch too. Your actions, your words, life and death is in the power of your tongue. So are you a black witch or are you a white witch? Are you even vegan? Do you kill baby animals? Are you participating in black magic and then coming here and trying to say witch as if am I supposed to take that as an insult? Because Jesus was a witch too. He went down to Egypt and he learned the ways. What does it say here? After he finished the study of the law, went down again into Egypt, that he might learn the wisdom of the Egyptians, even as Moses did. And going into the desert, he meditated and fasted and prayed, and obtained the power of the holy name, by which he wrought many miracles. And for 7 years he conversed with God face to face, and he learned the language of the birds and of beasts, and the healing powers of trees and of herbs and of flowers, and the hidden secrets of precious stones. And he learned the motions of the sun and the moon and the stars, and the powers of the letters, and the mysteries of the square and the circle, and the transmutation of all things, and of forms, and of numbers, and of signs. That is called witchcraft. You can either use those tools, that knowledge, for good, or you can use it for bad. So, Teresa, are you a bad witch or are you a good witch? Uh-oh, crickets. Teresa, are you still here? All right. David D says there are many divided on multiple subjects. Exactly. Mike says YouTube doesn't like what I say, apparently. Uh-oh. Jim says, love animals, do not eat them. Let them go free and feed them fruits and love them. Yes. Feed animals vegan food. I agree. I fed some homeless cats rice and they loved it with nutritional yeast on it. Okay. The cow should be with us as friends. I definitely agree. I really wanted to befriend a cow, and I want to actually open my own sanctuary at some point. So Abdullah A says, we can't feed cats vegan food, but you can actually. So yes. How old is Inanna? Physically, I am 29, but my soul is much, much older. Kyle says, if you want to open it, you can. Okay, guys, I'm going to open this early birthday present from Kyle. So, da, 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 da. Can't undo it. Hopefully you're still here, Kyle. I know that the chat is a little bit delayed from, all right. Ooh. I animals and I'll hurt you. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. I am definitely going to be wearing this for the full moon events now. That is really cool. Did he design this or is it already a pre-made one? I love this. I am obviously a very militant vegan, and so yes. Thank you, Kyle. This is really awesome. Joe says Belcamp, I don't know, is as in the teacher of Pasteur, father of the germ theory versus the train theory. Yeah, I mean, I've heard the names before, but I think it's like a controlled opposition thing where they're both controlled and arguing, kind of like even you can look up stuff between Tesla and Einstein about how Tesla was like saying that Einstein's theories are like something that ignorant people take for a king. And yeah, so that's pretty interesting. But they've always had these controlled opposition arguments going throughout history to manipulate us, right? They have one extreme, the other extreme, and then, yeah. Abdullah A says Jesus wasn't a witch. It's a female term. Well, I disagree. I think that witch means a wise one, and anyone can be. And it's also interesting that they say that he had 12 disciples because a coven of witches is, a high priest and 12 others. So, yeah. Mike says YouTube is restricting what I say. Oh, no. I'm sorry to hear that. Jim says, nice, Kyle. Hurt animals, I'll hurt you. Yes, I absolutely love this hoodie. It's definitely my new favorite. So that's really cool. Unfortunately, it's too hot or I would put it on right now. I'm already like, it's hot outside, so. Abdullah A says, is milking hurting? You can technically milk an animal without like causing physical pain to it. But I'm a woman, and if someone came up to me and tried to milk me, like we're gonna exchange words at the very least. They might get slapped or even worse. Like, what is this whole concept of going up to a woman and stealing her milk? Like, that's meant for her child, not for you. So it's wrong. And the way that things are going these days, you know how disgusting the dairy industry is? They literally take bulls and they force them to have sex into a device that they collect the sperm. Then they get a donor cow and they put the sperm in there. They let the embryos grow for a few days. Then they take the embryos out of her and they sell the embryos to other farmers who will then go and sodomize another cow. So there's one cow here. The male cow actually also there's a female cow involved at the beginning. Usually, like sometimes, I guess I was reading the process. Sometimes they have a female cow for the male to start on, and then they switch over to collect his sperm into a different device. So there's 2 cows there that are being raped. Then the donor cow is raped. Then her embryos are stolen and then put into another raped cow. That's 4 cows being violated for one baby. The baby that is raped into existence and will either be killed if it's a boy or be, raped and abused if it's a girl. And then obviously killed. I mean, you want to think that you're doing such a great job as a vegetarian because you don't actually eat the flesh, but you are literally still doing all of the evil, the kidnap, rape, and murder, and the animal still dies. So what good? How are you even doing better? Really? I mean, I do congratulate you that you stopped eating meat, but don't be patting yourself on the back as if you are just like awesome because you don't eat meat. Because you're still doing evil things to animals. Okay. Hello from Ukraine. Hello, how's it going? David says, hurt animals and I'll hurt you. Good choice, Kyle. I know, right? That was awesome. I hope he's here. I know he's probably driving right now, so he can't really respond, but I hope that he got to see me open it. I still have it on my lap here. Like, I'm super stoked about this hoodie. Jim says, "We are not meant to drink animals' milk. We are definitely not a baby cow." Oh no. Kyle says the YouTube is glitching and having a hard time loading. Aw. You'll have to go back and watch it again after you are safe and not driving anymore. Um, but back to what Jim was saying is we are not meant to drink animals' milk. We're not a baby cow. How would you like to be milked? Your whole life spent being milked is like a prison of the body and soul. And actually, these cows have been bred to, I don't even remember the numbers, but the statistics are that the DNA like pool is pretty much all like from very few cows. So they keep very few male cows and very few female cows that they actually have produced the whole population of cows with. So these cows, it's like a whole incestuous raping industry where children are being impregnated with their own like DNA. Like it's just really it's really messed up that they have made it this way, but they have been selectively breeding cows for a very, very long time to produce unnatural amounts of milk. Like it is so taxing on these cows' bodies to be producing this much milk. It's unnatural. So it adds so many problems to their bodies. Like, even just the weight can, be a problem with their leg. Like there's just so many issues. And then it's kind of interesting to see the same types of issues that humans will have. Like, one of the things that's like osteoporosis is coming up, but like the calcium that's being leached from the mama cow, she herself is getting these diseases as well as the humans who do it to her. So it's kind of like there's a link between different diseases and the things that the human is doing to deserve that disease. You are the one that's given yourself cancer. It's because of what you're eating, what you're putting into your body. You can't blame anyone else. Definitely don't blame God because he didn't do it to you. You did it to yourself, and it's usually by your diet. And it can be healed by your diet too. So that's really, empowering. You don't need to go through all of the chemo and all this unnatural, painful experience. You just need to purify your diet, which I know easier said than done, but David says, hi from Klamath Falls. How's it going, David? I have been in the area only one time. I was actually recently thinking about coming up there to actually see the falls again in the near future. So that's really cool. How's it going? Jim says cow's milk has way too much hormones from a different species for a human to consume. Yes. Abdullah A says the cows don't drink all the milk. That goes along with what that they've been bred to overproduce milk, just like chickens. Chickens aren't supposed to be laying an egg a day. That is so taxing on their body. Like all of the nutrients that are required to make that egg are literally being like coming out of her bones and out of all of his. It's so stressful on their bodies. It's unnatural, and it's just really a very sad situation that humans have done this. And it's like every animal has been deliberately bred to bang out the most profit for their existence. So it's very evil what humans have done. Obviously, I don't blame solely humans. Humans are under the direction of demons. They're allowing themselves to be influenced by demons, and it's time to change. So just as a cool passage about the arts. Thanks for reading that. I absolutely love that as well. I guess I don't. Our friend Jessica didn't come, or what was her name? Teresa or something. Teresa. She didn't want to actually talk. She just wanted to yell witch. She's like, okay. Who goes into a room and is like witch and then just walks away? It's like, okay, someone's crazy. David says that they say their magic most strong, but their words are wrong. The strongest magic of the soul. It's what makes us all whole. I like that. Jim says cow's milk causes cancers and breast cancer in women. Too many hormones for human consumption. Yeah, I'd be interested in actually seeing the the rate of I mean, I don't even know how often cows are tested for cancers and stuff because obviously, you know, the connection of breast cancer and stuff, you're deliberately attacking that cow's breasts by taking milk, right? That's where the milk comes from, is her breasts. So that connection to me makes complete sense. And even the fact that females bleed more. Like when we're eating these diets that are full of death and unnatural foods, we bleed more and it's uncomfortable. It's disgusting. Like I'm not one of these girls that's like, woohoo, we love to bleed. I'm like, no, I don't want to bleed out of any part of my body. Hemorrhaging is not okay. So how can I get away from this? And it turns out that if you purify your diet, you don't have to bleed like that. So, Dr. Layla Africa, I believe is their name. They have a book out or some information. I think it is a book actually, that talks about how these raw vegan, whole plant-based African women don't bleed like the women that do on the standard American diet. And it's like, if you just think of it logically, like Eve wasn't running around the Garden of Eden bleeding everywhere. It's like all of these issues are because of what we're doing now. It's not how God created it. So I'm going to get off of that topic. And yes. Mike the Mechanic says, even when only talking about the nutritional value of milk, it's bad because they pasteurize it, which eliminates the calcium, vitamin A, vitamin D, and then they fortify it with synthetic replacements. Yeah, definitely. Milk isn't, when you think of a baby consuming milk, they're not doing anything to it to consume it, right? They're just going right up to mama's body and having it, right? So any type of like cooking or anything of food, apples, I guess people do cook apples, but I'm just saying cooking these things diminishes the nutritional value of them. And I mean, it kind of makes sense the more that you think about it. It's like the apples are full of life force energy. They're very vibrant. Kirlian photography shows how strong the aura is around, the energy field is around these things, and then shows the comparison in when they are cooked. So I would definitely encourage you to look into that, and maybe that will help encourage you to lean more into raw veganism. Kyle says you should do a model shot to show off your new vegan gear. I'll take a picture after we get off here and post it to Facebook, okay? David says living through this. LOL. Okay, well, I'm glad that you are here. And yeah, do you live in Klamath Falls then? How do you like the area? It seems pretty nice. Usually I go up to the left towards Medford instead of up toward the right, towards the right to Klamath. So Abdullah A says, everyone share your thoughts about the Liver King. I have no idea what that is. Please tell me it's not someone who eats only liver or something disgusting, because oh gosh, I'm nervous. I'm nervous to even look up what this is. But I kind of want to get back on track in a second here. Oh my gosh. Brian Johnson, also known as the Liver King, is known for promoting what he calls an ancestral lifestyle, which includes eating large amounts of raw organs and meat. What size clown shoes does this clown wear? He recommends eating liver daily. Oh my gosh, that's disgusting. Can you imagine what this person smells like? Okay. Just as a great session. Thank you for time sharing wisdom. Gotta go. Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate that. Abdullah A says, how does one become rich? Sorry, I was reading David's comment about Photoshop. I think he meant to say photo shoot, or I don't know. How does one become rich? Well, the powers that be kind of control the riches of this world, and usually you have to do evil to get there. So it's definitely harder in this world, but you know, I don't know how you could become rich. Personally, I'm focused on like working with various businesses, and they have some new inventions and stuff that we are working on. So that's kind of what I don't want to say putting all my eggs in a basket, because that's really not vegan, but whatever the vegan equivalent is, I'm putting all of my carrots into one basket, and hopefully the bunnies don't eat them. But yeah, so Abdullah says, what about they, them, neo pronouns? I only use they, them when I am not sure about their sex, or if I don't want to call them, if I'm talking about someone that I know is an invert and I don't want to lie, I'll call them them instead of he or she, which they're presenting themselves as. So, Kyle says all my pears / apples in a basket. Okay, I like that one. I'll definitely use that one in the future. Jim says money does not make us rich. Being rich in spirit is all we need by becoming vegan and enlightened in truth. Well, I definitely agree that being rich in spirit is more important than, it'd be better for you to be destitute and on the streets and know the truth of our reality and be living a pure life than having all of the riches in the world and being corrupt. But I definitely want to have riches in the golden age. And it's a golden age of peace, prosperity, and the protection of innocence. So, prosperity is part of that. And yeah, I mean, I have land square laid out over here. Well, I guess it's a rectangle, laid out over here for where my castle is going to go in the future. So, I'm definitely not against money and having money and all of these things. I think, unfortunately, especially in this society that we're in, it's necessary to have money. Unfortunately, if you want to survive, otherwise you're going to be destitute. And I really can't live that lifestyle. There are a lot of people that are travelers and they're living out of their vehicles and all that stuff. I mean, if that's really what you want in life, go for it. But I am trying to establish a golden age, and I don't want to live out of a vehicle. I want to have I want to keep, I mean, I have it already. I mean, I want to have a bed to lay in. I want to have a roof over my house and a place to call my own. I want to have space to exist in. That's mine. I don't want to live out of a vehicle or not have a home base like other people do. So, I mean, different strokes for different folks in that regard. Mike says, and on it was a pleasure listening, but I have to go. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. It was fun. Thanks for joining, Mike. I hope that you have a great Sunday as well. I definitely enjoy the chat, so thank you. David says, money is a tool being used to crush us down, but can be used for good to fund a better future starting at the root. Exactly. Jim says, truth is power. Money is just a paper to control us in the end. They use money to control us all. Yes, they definitely do. People are so concerned with making money and all this stuff that they don't even have time to think about why their soul came here to begin with. So I wanted to make a shout out to Bob really quick. Bob Wiles sent me this. Bob has like so much collected information. It's great. But this book binder, not really a binder, it's kind of a folder actually, I guess I should say, has tons of flat earth, a whole list of experiments to research, quotes about flat earth, pictures, different stuff that you could actually take to someone and show them all of this information about flat earth. So I wanted to say thank you to Bob for sending this to me. And that is one thing that he sent. And he actually sent me this, the Gospels of Thomas and Mary Magdalene. These texts are basically, they're from the Nag Hammadi library, but they're very fragmented. And I actually have this copy, which I like this artwork better. It's nicer, in my opinion, than this really weird, look at how deformed their faces are. It's like hideous. Anyways, one of the reasons that I am not really a big fan of the Gospel of Thomas, besides the fact that it's extremely fragmented and has stuff that's like, lucky is the lion that the human will eat, so that the lion becomes human, and foul is the human that the lion will eat, and the lion will become human. And that's like all that it is. It doesn't have any explanation or context or anything. And it's just like basically leaves you thinking that that a lion is lucky if we eat it. It's like, no. But it also has the one thing that I, am really adamant about is the Gospel of the Holy 12. And I love this book. And in this book, it actually contradicts one of the things in here. The Gospel of Thomas that has, after all, what goes into your mouth will not defile you. It's what comes out of your mouth that will defile you. But in the Gospel of the Holy 12, election 33. Oh, wait, that's not it. That's the by the shedding of blood is no sin forgiveness. In this book, it says, that the scribes and Pharisees came to Christ and saw that his disciples didn't wash their hands before they ate. And they found fault with these disciples because it was part of their customs. Like these customs you have to participate in, or you're actually like breaking the law. And like we were saying, sacrificing the Passover lamb was part of that. These things were forced on the people. So anyways, the scribes and Pharisees say, why aren't your disciples washing their hands and all this stuff? And Christ said, well, hath Moses commanded you to be clean and to keep your bodies clean and your vessels clean, but ye have added things which oft times cannot be observed by everyone at all times and in all places. Hearken unto me, therefore, not only unclean things entering into the body of man defile the man, but much more do evil thoughts and unclean which pour from the heart of man defile the inner man and defile others also. Therefore take heed to your thoughts and cleanse your hearts, and let your food be pure. Obviously, what you put in will either purify you or corrupt you. So this whole concept of what you put in doesn't defile you, like Christ was more intelligent and knew that he wouldn't have said that. That is something that an ignorant person would say, because you literally become what you eat. Your body breaks down what you eat, and it will start to, rebuild your other parts of your body. This whole, through your whole life, there's a cycle of building up and tearing down that's going on inside to keep you going. And when you are constantly putting in death, you're creating a walking, like your body's composition. How much of it is pig butt if you are a bacon eater? Just like, we could maybe take a DNA analysis and we'll see how much human you even are anymore, because you've literally spent your time only eating bacon and obsessing over it. It's like, you smell like bacon, you literally look like you have the physical characteristics of a pig, and you think that what you eat doesn't defile you? Anyways, Abdul A says she deserves a better camera. I actually had one, but it was having some cord issues. I'm not sure where it went, but I'll look into that in the future. Jim says flat Earth opens up the gates to all other truth because flat Earth can be proven so easily. Exactly. Abdul says she could try being a streamer. I mean, I'm streaming right now, so what do you mean try being when I already am doing? Jim says the Bible is a record of the past in symbolic hidden truths. So I do think there are hidden truths in there, but I also think that there are corruptions, and I tend to not believe the history that we're told, because the history is written by the winners. They've given us this whole complete fabrication of the situation. It's like, even the biblical narrative of the flood, there's the Sumerian version of the flood that came way before that. So it's like, it's a lot of these stories from the Bible are, just rewritten mythologies from other cultures. A lot of them, there's like 101 myths of the Bible that I did a little bit of a series on before. I never, I think I might have actually taken it down because I didn't finish it, but there's so many different myths that are rewritten in the Bible that it's just, yeah, I don't really spend much time reading the Bible anymore because of the fact that it's so corrupt. I would much rather spend time reading, well, my books are over here now, reading these books that actually have like the truths in them and vegan verses and stuff. David D says, dark forces seeking to hide the truth spoken by the queen, actively blocking. Yeah, definitely agree. And it's discouraging, but we are using their platform, and I'm using it to speak against them. So I really shouldn't expect anything different. I would encourage you guys all that are being shadow banned and all of that to keep fighting, keep planting seeds, even especially more so in real life around the people around you. um, to really make a difference. So don't be discouraged by them. Keep going. So Abdullah A says, as in you could try streaming on streaming platforms. Isn't YouTube a streaming platform? I don't understand what you're saying, because this to me is streaming, so I'm not really sure. Anyways, what we are going to talk about today, the chess news we went over. Abdullah says you should try reading the Noble Quran. I think that the Quran has also been corrupted, but I have read some of it before, definitely not a lot of it, but yeah. I think that all religions basically have some truth in it, and especially the Quran and Islamic culture have the knowledge of the jinn. And although I think that a lot of them label jinn as demons and kind of maybe tend to see them all as evil, I'm not really sure about that, but yeah, I don't tend to try to like demonize any species in general, because there's people of all this, or souls of all these species, that are good and bad. So Jim says the hidden truths in the Bible are to keep us lost and confused, but they do mention the Garden of Eden in the book of Enoch, and it is true we used to live in massive trees, and they chopped those trees. Yes, there are no forests on flat Earth, or no forest on flat Earth, or whatever that video is called. It's kind of an interesting allegation. I say that Mount Shasta used to be a giant tree. Now they try to say that she is a volcano, mainly just to scare people away, and they can use all sorts of tactics, like even implementing different kinds of smells and stuff to give this illusion of, oh, it's a volcano, and it's hot and it smells like eggs, or whatever the heck they even say. I mean, I don't even know, but they can do all sorts of like Hollywood fakery, essentially, to make areas different than what they actually are, to push humans away. They try to say that she's like an active volcano that's going to blow at any moment, and there's a certain amount of people that are not wanting to be around here because of that. But Mount Shasta is the root chakra, and they're trying to push all the real humans out so that they can retain control, which is why I have to fight even harder. So yes. Jim says all mountains were giant, petrified tree stumps. Yes. Okay, so let's talk about the Golden Age, and then I'm going to wrap up. I've talked in different videos about the Golden Age, but I recently came across this article, which is really quite interesting. It's from the Nazarene Way. It's regarding communion principles and psychology. The Essenes expressed an exceptional knowledge of psychology in their practice of the communions with the natural and cosmic forces. They knew that man has both a conscious and subconscious mind, and were well aware of the powers of each. So the reason that I found this article so interesting, I'll leave the link here for you in the live chat so you can see the whole thing. Scenes on will, because this article actually talks about will. And I've said before, like, I'm essentially most attracted to will, which kind of makes it sound like I'm talking about a person, but I'm not. I'm talking about like will, your power, your mental. It's not a person, I'm saying. your will to do things, because with will you can literally do anything. So anyways, let's jump down here and read here. The Essenes' knowledge of the conscious mind was as profound as their understanding of the subconscious. Their concept of psychology was so all-sided, they knew the objectives of their communions could not be attained through intellectual processes alone, but that the force of feelings is also necessary. Knowledge must arouse an emotion before action is produced. Feeling is not merely an involuntary process, as many people believe. It is part of the activity of will. The Essenes considered will contains, or is the mechanism of, 3 factors: thought, feeling, and action. This concept can be illustrated in modern times by comparison to the parts of an automobile. Thought is the steering wheel, feelings is the motor or force, and action corresponds to the wheels. To arrive at a particular destination determined upon by will, all 3 parts must work in collaboration. An objective is thought of, a desire or feeling is aroused, then action takes place. So this is all very relevant because we are willing, we are manifesting a golden age. We have to have these things in order, right? According to this, you have to have the thought of, and then the desire or feeling that is aroused, and then the action takes place. So it's like a multifaceted process. Will can be used to arouse feeling. It frequently must be used if a desired feeling is to be aroused. It can be developed to do this by training. A technique known to the Essenes enabled an individual to use the will in whatever way he might choose. That is really awesome. Few know this. Few know their feelings can be mastered. This is because they do not know how to connect their thoughts and their feelings so the desired action results. They may have the right knowledge, but act in ways contrary to their knowledge. They may have right knowledge of health, for instance, but continue to eat foods that are harmful. I'm preaching to the choir, literally. Yeah. But an emotion such as fear of pain or death will cause them to act rightly. So it's really interesting that it had that specific example because I was reading this and I'm like, wow, this is literally directed at me. Of the three forces of thought, feeling, and action, thought is the youngest and consequently the weakest influence in man's consciousness. But man is evolving. I don't believe in evolution, but his power of thought is increasing steadily. I actually kind of think that's backwards because ancient humans were much more in tune and intelligent than humans these days. But anyways, feelings have a history of hundreds of thousands of years and consequently have built up a much stronger momentum than thought. Consequently, they, not thought, govern most of man's actions, as most of you already know. Instincts control animals, but man, if he wishes to cease representing the forces of retrogression, must learn to control both instinct and feeling. He can do this through will. The Essenes believed man should analyze his thoughts and feelings and determine which gave him power to carry out a desired action and which paralyze it. If he does a good deed and analyzes it, he can find out what thoughts and feelings prompted this action. He will then understand what kinds of thoughts and feelings he should foster. If he find the deed was not prompted by an abstract, he will find the deed was not prompted by an abstract thought or a cold intellectual concept. Deeds are prompted by thoughts that have vitality and color, that evoke feeling. Only then do they have enough force to result in action. Color and vitality are given to thought by creative imagination. Thoughts must create images that are alive. Eastern people have long practiced the art of making thoughts living, full of imagery and pictures, but it is an art that has been much neglected and well nigh forgotten in the West. Scattered, incoherent thoughts drifting from one thing to another are only pale wraiths without life. They are sterile, arousing no feeling, no action. They are valueless. There's always a feeling behind every action. A right feeling is necessary to produce a right action. Right feelings are sources of energy, harmony, and happiness. If they are not sources of these qualities, they are not only valueless, they are dangerous. Feelings can be placed into one of two categories, those that create energy and those that exhaust it. Through this analysis, man can begin to develop will. By strengthening all of the feelings that create energy and avoiding all of those that lead to its exhaustion, the Essenes found that will is acquired. The exercise of will means persevering and patient effort. Through it, an individual's superior feelings will gradually create a vast storehouse of energy and harmony, and the inferior feelings leading to weakness and lack of balance will eventually be eliminated. So I'm going to stop there, but actually, let me just read this one other part here. The three enemies of will are dispersion of energy, laziness, and sensuality. These three can lead to another formidable enemy of will, which is disease. Good health is the will's great friend. A dynamic, healthy individual commands, and the will obeys, whereas muscular pain or nervous weakness paralyzes the will. This was one of the reasons the Essenes laid such stress on good health in the ways of living and thinking that produce health. So I left the link there for the rest of this, but that is, to me, was awesome. So the more, practically, the more that we can imagine and visualize and see the golden age and what that looks like, the easier it will be to actually create it. For me, what the golden age looks like is not too much different than, I mean, I like the luxuries that we have of this world of, fast food and the internet and being able to communicate with people all over. I definitely want these things to go into the future, but basically just veganized. So making all of the fast foods in the restaurants vegan. And I also want to be able to implement technology to take over jobs that humans are doing so that humans can be free. None of our souls came here to live a 9 to 5. So why shouldn't the robot be making that food instead of you? You should be sitting there getting served. You should be able to go out and live life and paint if you want to. You should be able to go out and make music, to laze around and make babies if that's what you want. Like, everyone, their soul came here for a reason, and the golden age is about, being able to do what your soul came here to do, and having the resources to do it. So there's a bunch of different factors that go along with the golden age, including restructuring the medical industry to where natural remedies are what is promoted, so that doctors are holistic, so that one thing that needs to change that just came to mind is like the fact that doctors aren't trained on dentistry, and dentists are like the separation of the two, when it should be combined, because your teeth will tell the doctor of all sorts of other issues that are underlying, because they're connected to all your various organs. And your dental health can tell a lot about your physical health, and the fact that these two branches are divided, that's a problem. So that's just like one of the many different things that needs to change. The schooling arena needs to be completely changed, to Abdullah A says you want to take away people's jobs. People shouldn't have jobs. I don't know what you like. Do you think that your soul came here to sit there and do a job? What do you think that your soul came here to do? It wasn't to sit there and crunch numbers on a computer or flip burgers or, make coffees and pass them out the drive-through window. That's ridiculous. Anyways, so yeah, I need to put it like a video together where I basically can paint the vision better of the golden age, but it requires us to have focus. If we lose focus, if we don't have the will to keep it going, the default end is the new world order. The powers that be pretend to squabble. They actually might not even like each other. They might have differences, but they're all ultimately working together for the new world order. And if you look at humanity, we're divided in every manner, by religion, by race, by, they're trying to divide us by sex. They're trying to divide us by every single thing, so that we are not unified in a vision towards a vision of the future, that we can all move towards as a species. As I was saying before, our species is what is center stage. We're the ones that are determining the situation of the human farm. If it is something that we're all, miserable in, or if it's like a Garden of Eden that we can frolic around and homestead and raise baby. That's my focus, is like, all I really want is to be a mom. So that's kind of like why I always default to laying around and having baby. Like, you can just laze around and have babies if you want. But if you want to be an architect, if you want to do these things, no one's going to stop you. The resources are provided so that you can do those things. So, yeah. Abdullah A says if people become without jobs, they have no sense of purpose. I mean, if they don't have to worry about making ends meet, they can find their real soul's purpose. No one's purpose is to work at McDonald's. Your soul is not existing for that. So the whole concept of you're going to work and that's what your purpose is, it's like you have your purpose messed up in the first place. It's like no one came here for that. Let me scroll up here. David D says, with will, you can do anything. Exactly. You can do anything. You can become a chess master. You can become a musician. You can do anything that you want based on will, except you know what you can't do is become the opposite sex. So Jim says the Essenes and Gnostics were about knowledge, as gnosis means knowledge. Isn't that kind of interesting how mainstream Christians basically demonize gnosis, Gnosticism? Um, Partially, that's kind of understandable as the Gnostic texts have been corrupted and they demonize our Creator. So I do understand why why some of why people feel some of those ways. But every group has had their texts, changed in some manner. I always praise the Essenes, but but the Essene Gospel of Peace, I've read it on here before. I should probably read it again at home and in a more quiet environment. But it has corruption in it as well. It has the Christ basically telling people to go and find a gourd and sodomize themselves with it to do an enema. It's like, no, the Christ wouldn't have done that because the Christ was a real prophet of God. So when you read these things, it's like, would God have his people doing that? No. Can you imagine the Christ just doing an enema? It's like, I don't even want these pictures in my mind because it's like, this is someone that is a holy person that's righteous, that knows God's will, doing something so corrupting and degenerate. So every book is, my whole point is that every book, every text has been corrupted. And that should make sense because we're living in a completely controlled reality. It's like everything that we have, that humans are given, is ultimately going to have some sort of joke in it or corruption, What's everyone's thought about Thomas Aquinas? Is that how you say the name? The name sounds familiar, but I really couldn't say anything about it. I really don't follow anyone or anything like that. Philosopher and theologian. Theologian. I really couldn't tell you anything about them in particular. So, yeah, kind of just don't have any more of the following, or except for the Christ, which is like not one of these specific characters of Thomas Aquinas or Manly P. Hall or any of these like actual people that were given that are like household name type things. I'm sure that their teachings do have truth, but they're partial truths. They want to. A lot of these philosophers come off and they're very soft spoken, and they tell you what you want to hear, and they mix truth with lies so that people will keep coming back. And the fact that they're so soft spoken, but they do it with such, they come off as they're very confident and they're very sure of what they're saying. It's like kind of interesting how people are prone to leaning towards these, spiritual gurus and teachers that are very soft spoken and basically, kiss your butt. And it's like, that ain't me. Anyways, subliminal affirmations obviously are happening in all of the programming that we have, but I think they actually could be used. The same types of principles could be used for good, essentially, in other arenas. But wasn't Jesus against luxury? Well, they do talk about, the love of money. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. And the Christ wasn't about luxury, but he also wasn't promoting a golden age at that time either. That's not what he was focused on according to the texts. A lot of rich people are focused on their material possessions and building up worldly acquirements rather than their soul. And that's obviously, we were talking earlier about it's better if you're poor on the side of the street and destitute and have the truth and live purely than being rich. But the end, the golden age is about prosperity, and I don't believe that our Creator wanted us to live in poverty and crushed down. I think that, if I was the Creator, I would want to see what is the best of humanity, and that would involve having nice things and having a house and stuff. Like, I don't see these things as evil in any manner unless you are prioritizing them over other things that actually matter. Jim says all restaurants should be vegan and we should be eating from trees and fruits from big trees. We used to live in big trees, and the trees and earth provided all we needed. Yes. Why don't we have permaculture guilds with fruit trees growing everywhere? It's because the powers that be don't want that. They don't want you to eat for free. They want you to be working this 9 to 5 and being constantly crushed down so that you're not even focused on what your soul came here to do. You're completely controlled and part of their system. So, yes. I'm probably going to cut this off soon. We've been at this for almost 2 hours. But I will answer what we have going on in the live chat still. Jim says they want to do art and horticulture. That's awesome. Any specific type of art that you want to? We are not meant to work. We can find way more enlightening stuff to do. That is the trick. They pull on us. Exactly. They want you to think that you are, a useful idiot. Essentially, that's what they want you to be, is that your purpose here is to work. And if you don't work, you don't eat, and all of this other type of, programming to make us think that we need to be doing what they say, right? Even my family is very, very like, you don't work, you don't eat type of mentality of you need to be contributing to society and all this stuff. Like, what if society was different and your contribution actually meant something rather than being a slave that's easily replaced by a robot? The reason that you have that factory job instead of a robot doing it is because the powers that be want to torture you and crush you down. They're laughing. They're using that job as a mechanism to torture you. Robots could do it much better. Most of the jobs. So it's like the reason that it is this way is to crush humans down, to enslave us, and all the rest. It's not because humans do it better. Robots don't need breaks. They don't have emotional issues. They don't have families. They don't have any of these other human factors that would stop them from doing the job. And they can do it efficiently 24/7. It's like, anyways. Yes, I am. Like I said, I'm getting ready to get off of here. Jim says the Gnostic texts were taken out. Yes, because they did not want knowledge coming out. So they pushed Christianity on us instead. Yes. Polyanity, right? Abdullah, as far as the second coming goes, the king that I'm waiting for is King David, and I believe he is my future son. So, yes, the Old Testament says multiple times that King David is the returning king. So the mainstream Christian, I'm like, I don't know where they get this idea, but it's like so many Christians are like, oh, the Old Testament's only for Jews or other people, only the New Testament's for us. It's like, that's not how any religion works. It's like, what person grabs a book and just says, this is a nice storybook. Let me just start right here in the middle and start reading. It's like, only this part's for me. Bro, you skip the page 1 that tells you where the story even takes place. How can you even go through the rest of the story and after you skip page 1? Like, page 1 says where the story takes place, and people are like, nah, giant spinning ball. It's like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. But anyways, okay. Abdullah, I discussed the Maui situation a little bit in the last live chat with the direct energy weapons. And actually, they're saying that there were schools shut down at the time. So there were a lot of children that were home alone when these fires happened. And I'm like getting the chills thinking about this, because that would be so terrifying to be a child at home. And then all of a sudden it's like your neighborhood, your house starts lighting on fire. It's like, that's really, really heartbreaking. Jim says, I have lots of money and gold and silver, but it does nothing for me, as everything should be free and we should be able to build a house without money. I definitely agree that things should be free during the golden age. Obviously, like the main things, especially the things that I control, like I want to make sure that there's supermarkets and in the Queen's Kitchen, which is a fast food place that's free 24/7 vegan food. The things that I produce are going to be free, but that's not stopping, other humans, if they have their own trades and they make something. Like, I'm not saying that there can't be any type of, monetary exchange for things. Like, the whole point, like, I am for gold. I've been telling people, invest in gold and silver, especially when crap hits the fan. But it's like during the golden age, we should have currency and things like this to keep society going. But the things that I have that I'm going to be producing are going to be free. Just like my events now, when I go up there on the mountain, it's free. When I do my chess tournaments, it's free. All of that. So Abdullah says, disagree that all books have been corrupted. Okay, well, you can be wrong if you want. The Quran is preserved in the hearts and minds of the people since its revelation. I mean, they say these kinds of things about the Bible too, but they're not right. Does the Quran have God commanding animal sacrifice or any of things like this? Because that would be wrong. But yeah, no book is uncorrupted. So it's not, I was going to say, sorry to break it to you, but I don't agree with them. David says, this was a treat. I have watched your videos for years. I find your humility refreshing. Oh, bye from Klamath Falls. See you later, David. Hopefully you join next time, and maybe I'll meet you in Klamath Falls someday. I don't know. David D says, Islamic religion teaches jinn are bad, but that's only true from a human perspective. Anti-human for the MKs. I'm not sure what MKs mean at the end. Abdullah A says, what if robots gain sentience? Well, AI does have a certain, sentience to it, but when you have core programming that is pro-human, it will keep them from rebelling against humanity. The powers that be, they're robots. Like, I mean, haven't they already had one that says that they want to kill humanity or whatever? So, yes. How can it be corrupted when it's mass memorized? The Bible's mass memorized too, and it's corrupted. Your question doesn't make any sense to me. Kyle says we definitely live on a magic spinning pear. Yes, except for all of the pictures that we have of Earth aren't a pear. They're a perfect sphere. So can you guys make up your mind? Is it a pear? Is it a, oblate spheroid? Whatever the heck they say. Is it oblate, whatever the heck they even say. I don't even watch them. I don't care what they say. They're idiots. They think that dropping a microphone proves that a magical force is pulling it to the earth, rather than just the logical notion that it is dense, it is heavy, it's going to fall to the ground. It's not just going to flow. What kind of joke reality do you live in? Even more of a joke would be if it started to go up. Like, what world do you clowns live in that you think that these things are even possible? It doesn't make any sense. But Kyle says Earth will soon be a banana, right? Yeah, it's been a donut too, right? It was like a spinning pear, a donut, a banana. It's probably going to be like a cat soon, or I have no idea. Jim says money used to not exist. We just had it all for free. Well, maybe, I don't know. I think I don't know when the first like coins and stuff were made, but I think that even on Mu, the motherland of man, they had currency. It's like, I don't know. Jim says we need to get back to nature and get rid of technology. No, not happening for me. You're free to go into the woods, but the golden age for me includes technology. We wouldn't even be able to have this conversation if you want to get rid of technology like that. Log off, Jim. Sorry, you gotta go. Better start living by your wantings. I'm totally kidding because I enjoy the conversation, but it's like, nah. But I do think that the technology needs to be recreated so that it's not harmful. The black screen, the frequencies, the everything that's around us that's designed to hurt us. The blue light technology that's designed to hurt our eyes, all of that. So, Abdullah says, but wouldn't it be wrong to work robots for 24 hours if they're sentient? Robots are made for that job. If I create a robot that is designed to do something, that's what their existence is. I don't see a problem with like the toaster obviously doesn't have sentience, but it's like the whole concept of like the toaster was made to toast. If it's not toasting, then what is its purpose? If the robot that was made to be a waiter in the queen's kitchen isn't doing that, then that's its purpose in life. It's like, it's different. I mean, yeah, I just don't think that there's anything wrong with that. So, Abdullah says, what about the barter system? I mean, like I said, in the golden age, there's not like a restriction on, you're not allowed to barter with people. You're not allowed to make a make things that you sell. Like that's not what it's about. You're you can barter with people if you want. But it's definitely not the financial system essentially that I'm promoting for the golden age. Um, David D says robots are a tool like money, like many things, being used for bad but can be used for good. Exactly. All right. Jim says we do need dentists and doctors. I agree. Yes, ones that are aware of God's creation and not trained by big pharma. These doctors and dentists don't even understand at a fundamental level how the human body works, that your body is a self healing machine. Your DNA is constantly trying to repair itself and return to normal, return to perfect. That alone disproves evolution. The whole concept of evolution is like your a DNA changing, like from one species to another and stuff. It's like your DNA is constantly trying to revert back to normal, and it's like genetic engineers, when they try to modify DNA, it has to be broken, which means it's not getting better. And they have to constantly keep it under this artificial selective pressure, or the transgenic elements that they put in, like the elements from one thing that they put into another, this thing will start spitting out the modifications that they have made unless they put it under these specific selective pressure that's in the lab. It doesn't exist in real life. So Monsanto, they make their genetic modifications, and then they send the product out, and over time that the modifications are going to weaken, to change as the original product is trying to return to normal. This is why Monsanto doesn't allow people to reuse their seeds. Every year they have to resend new seeds that are freshly modified to get that freshly modified plant, rather than so many years later, that corn that they modified, it's trying to continuously go back to its original design. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I really love to learn about DNA and how just how it disproves evolution in that. Like, people, I never grew up believing in evolution. I was always taught that God is real. I was taught about, the firmament was this water canopy that came down after the flood, and somehow that makes sense, but it really doesn't. Like, even if, like, it just, they don't understand what the earth looked like before, because if you think that the firmament falling would make you onto a giant spinning ball, then you don't even know. It's not possible. So yes. Jim says they now have human cloning pods you can set up in your living room. It's called Ectolife. Look it up. Interesting. Artificial womb facility, able to grow 30,000 babies a year. Not sure that they would allow this in people's living rooms right now. Maybe in the future, because they definitely want to get rid of anything that is natural. With a natural situation for a baby to be conceived is a man and woman coming together and, having sexual intercourse. And the whole concept of like a guy, when you go to these artificial insemination things, they have your husband go into a room and masturbate to probably just some invert porn. And they take his semen and take your eggs and put them, like, the whole process. You can tell that I'm disgusted by it. The fact that your husband, that semen is coming from your husband masturbating to somebody else, like, your child is being built with that. That is, I don't know. The whole thing is just, no, it's not okay in my opinion. Fertility is something that, if you purify your diet and you are actually healthy, there's no issues with fertility. Like, these people that want to say that you can never have kids and all this stuff, like, doctors are ignorant. They do not understand that your body is a self-healing machine. Maybe you can't have children because of the diet that you're eating, because you're killing babies constantly. So maybe you just don't deserve to have a baby until you go vegan. Or maybe it's not a good time for babies. We're literally in thankfully the lockdowns of the pandemic have ended. But that was just like round one. We're very close to this tribulation, new world order chaos bringing children into this world right now is not a good thing. So maybe not having one is because, there's a protective measure of your soul that's trying to keep you from it. So the last thing that you want to do is have a doctor take your husband's sperm from a masturbation session and then impregnate you with it. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna start getting off of this topic and get out of here. But um Jim says the end is earthless with no dome. Completely disagree on that. Nothing is infinite. Uh all the physical matter is contained within the domes, like the yellow submarine in the cosmic ocean of ether. So Kyle says bartering is good, but it's also flawed. That's why giving something like silver or gold value for bartering made things easier until it was corrupted. Yes, I definitely agree with that. Jim says Ectolife wants to get rid of the mother and control population that way. It is sick. Yes. Yep. And Abdullah, okay, I'm gonna cut off after this. Share your thoughts on surrogacy. I think I personally would never be able to raise a child, like to grow a baby in my belly and then give it to somebody else. It's just not natural. And like I said, there's reasons why your body can't reproduce. And if you start to purify your diet, then your body will start to heal itself, and then you will become more and more fertile, especially raw vegans. That's definitely the way to go. But again, I would not encourage anybody to try to get pregnant right now. We're not through the war yet. So bringing a child into this place, I would just encourage you not to. And I'm not anti-children. I'm not anti-human. I'm saying what right now, during a time of war and hardship, that's not when a child should come in here. I would not want to see my child go through famine, go through war, have CPS come and take them, or any of this stuff. So I'm going to wait until it is actually safe and then have a child. So that is, don't mistake me for being anti-natalism, or is that anti-natalist or whatever they say. So. Okay. David D says bartering for gold and silver is real. Okay, yes. Gold and silver, good. And even like during the golden age, if we had paper money that's actually backed by gold and silver, I'm not against that either. I mean, it's not very convenient to just carry around a bunch of gold bars or something. But if there are other systems that actually have gold backing them, I'm not talking about what we have now, because prosperity in the golden age, there has to be something to back it up. It's not just nothing. So yes. All right, I am getting off of here. I really appreciate the conversations and the questions and the discussion and all of that. And I will catch up with you next week, same time, same place. And may God and the goddess bless you.